Okay, I want you to pause for a second and really think about this question. What happens when cognition, reasoning, pattern recognition, problem solving, literally stops being a strictly human trait and becomes a programmable commodity? We're so used to thinking of artificial intelligence as just another software update, right? Like a slightly better calculator. But what if it's not? What if we're looking at a foundational shift in the actual physics of how organizations and honestly human civilization operate?
Well, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tearing into a profoundly important book called AI First by Adam Brotman and Andy Sack. And look, this isn't some dry technical manual. It is a high-stakes, evolutionary playbook for surviving the intelligence era. It makes the bold argument that we are entering a period where intelligence itself becomes base-level infrastructure. I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through this, because understanding this shift, it's no longer optional. It's the baseline for future survival.
So, there's a massive, and I mean massive, strategic earthquake happening right now between two concepts, being AI-enabled versus being AI-first. Most companies today are just AI-enabled. They take an old, clunky, industrial-era workflow and just slap an AI chatbot on top of it. They're doing the exact same things, just a tiny bit faster. But an AI-first company? Completely different story. They tear the workflow down to the studs. They redesign the entire process from the ground up, assuming AI capabilities are at the absolute core. Treating AI as just some sort of IT department initiative is incredibly dangerous. It's not a tool, it's an entire operating philosophy.
To truly grasp the sheer magnitude of this transition, we're going to explore the 5 core pillars of this philosophy: programmable intelligence, hyperpersonalization, evolutionary speed, the hybrid workforce, and finally, trust in synthetic eras. Think of this as your cinematic blueprint for the next decade of human and machine collaboration.
Let's kick things off with the first major shift: programmable intelligence and the new economics of thought.
The cost of cognition is falling. And honestly, this is the underlying mechanical engine of the entire AI revolution. For literally the entirety of human history, if you needed analysis or complex pattern recognition, you had to pay for human brains. And human brains, well, they need sleep, they need salaries, they need coordination. But as AI automates these functions, the cost of thought is dropping exponentially towards zero. And when the cost of thought drops, the friction of decision-making just vanishes. Suddenly, an organization that's built for slow, human-to-human coordination finds itself carrying a massive, fatal liability.
The consequence of this is entirely structural. The traditional corporate hierarchy was designed for the industrial era. You know the one, bloated, highly vertical, built entirely around the limits of human communication. But an AI-native structure naturally flattens out. Because AI systems wipe out that coordination friction, the organization becomes dramatically faster and highly autonomous. But here's the absolute critical insight from Brotman and Sack. This transformation is cultural way before it's technical. You can buy all the cutting-edge AI software on the planet, but if your legacy incentives and cultural resistance block it, you're going to remain permanently trapped in that slow, traditional hierarchy. Which brings us right into the second pillar, hyper-personalized ecosystems. We're watching the end of static brands. This is all about building a completely new relationship with the consumer. Broad demographic targeting, shoving millions of people into giant buckets based on age or zip code, that's completely dead. What replaces it is a relentless 3-step loop. User interaction feeds right into continuous behavioral feedback, which immediately triggers dynamic optimization. AI systems are learning from every single click, every little pause, every choice, and they're dynamically altering the experience in real time. This isn't just marketing anymore. It's a living, breathing ecosystem that adapts uniquely to you.
There's a quote from the book that carries just immense gravity. Future brands will increasingly function as intelligent systems rather than static identities. Really think about that for a second. A brand is no longer a fixed logo or a catchy slogan. It's an intelligent, highly responsive entity. Companies that actually pull this off are going to achieve unprecedented emotional loyalty. But the authors issue a pretty stark warning here too. If you over-optimize, you literally cross the line from personalization into algorithmic manipulation. If your brand becomes purely data-driven, it risks losing its authentic human soul entirely.
Now, let's look at the third core idea: evolutionary speed as the ultimate competitive weapon.
The very definition of what it means to win has completely changed. Historically, you won through sheer physical scale and operational efficiency. The guy with the biggest factory usually won. But in an AI-driven market, we've crossed into the era of intelligence scaling. Learning speed has permanently replaced organizational size as the ultimate advantage. AI allows for rapid experimentation, instantaneous analysis, and nonstop adaptation. This is pure Darwinian evolutionary selection playing out in real-time economics. The faster learning system will inevitably, mathematically, outcompete the slower learning system over time. Size doesn't protect you anymore, only velocity does.
But hold on, we absolutely have to pause here. Speed alone is not wisdom. This is a vital intellectual check. AI is an accelerator, pure and simple. It will accelerate brilliant strategic adaptation, sure, but it will just as happily accelerate terrible, highly reactive decisions. Short-term algorithmic optimization can completely hollow out your long-term strategic vision if you don't have human wisdom actively steering the ship. Acceleration creates instability, and unchecked speed, that's just chaos.
Which perfectly sets up our fourth core idea, the hybrid cognitive workforce. How exactly do we orchestrate these machines? We have got to dismantle this lazy, simplistic narrative that AI is just going to replace all the humans. The reality is so much deeper. It's about task decomposition. AI doesn't automate entire professions. It automates specific, narrow cognitive tasks. And because of that, the role of the human shifts radically. We move from being the human doer, executing those specific tasks, to the human orchestrator. Human work is elevating toward higher-level judgment, intense creativity, and emotional intelligence. We effectively become the editors, the strategic supervisors of this massive army of AI agents.
However, and this is a big however, this transition is going to cause severe workforce polarization. Those who learn to be AI orchestrators, the collaborators, they're going to see a massive, completely unprecedented spike in their productivity and market value. But the AI resistors, they are going to struggle severely. And Brotman and Sack point out a profound hidden implication here. Work isn't just about a paycheck, right? It's about identity. It's about our status and meaning in the world. This stark polarization won't just cause economic shifts, it's going to trigger deep psychological and social instability.
And that leads us, as we enter an era of infinite, cheap cognition, to our fifth pillar, trust in synthetic eras.
Look, we are about to be absolutely flooded by synthetic digital media and automated persuasion. Because of this, trust is no longer some soft PR concept. It is hard, structural engineering. Brands have to build a rigorous trust architecture. Transparency is what combats the public's fear of algorithmic manipulation. Ethical alignment ensures you don't accidentally trade your human-centered values for machine efficiency. Explainability secures user confidence, like, can you actually articulate why the AI made a specific decision? And AI governance is your ultimate shield against automated brand damage. Without these foundational pillars, your scalable AI systems will destroy your reputation faster than humanly possible. And this leads us to a fascinating paradox. AI massively increases scalability, for sure, but in doing so, it inherently weakens perceived humanity. Therefore, authenticity becomes the ultimate premium. If you sound like a machine, people will just tune you out, because literally, nobody wants to build brand loyalty with a glorified toaster. The competitive advantage of the future hinges entirely on balancing raw technical automation with genuine, vulnerable human credibility.
All right, let's step it up a notch for the climax of this explainer. Advanced insight into the economics of intelligence abundance. What exactly do AI-native companies understand way before everyone else?
Here is the absolute secret. Raw AI models, those massive foundation models you hear about in the news every day, they will eventually just become commoditized. They're going to be like electricity. And you don't win a market just by having electricity, right? So what actually dictates market dominance? It's the infrastructure built around the AI. Proprietary workflow data that literally no one else has. Tight, continuous feedback loops. The capability to seamlessly integrate those models into your daily operations. And above all, deep organizational adaptability. AI-native firms treat intelligence as an infrastructure layer. They don't just hire more people, they expand their capability through relentless data pipelines and automated agents.
Look at the grand historical tape here. In the 1900s, you won through physical scale. By the 1950s, the game was distribution networks. In the 2000s, digital reach was king. But today, right now, the era of programmable cognition has officially begun. Intelligence abundance is literally reshaping the foundational structure of civilization. We are rapidly moving from organizations limited by slow human coordination to incredibly adaptive computational ecosystems. So the deepest thesis of this entire analysis boils down to this. The future is a collaborative system at scale. It doesn't belong to humans working alone, isolated from technology, and it certainly doesn't belong to machines operating without human wisdom. The organizations that are going to absolutely dominate the next decade are the ones that seamlessly, beautifully integrate human creativity with machine intelligence at a massive, massive scale. But I want to leave you with a lingering tension from the book.
Something to really chew on long after this explainer wraps up. If we rebuild our organizations, our brands, and our daily workflows around these highly intelligent systems, if algorithms mediate our customer interactions and effectively our reality, who actually controls influence itself? Does power simply concentrate into the hands of the few mega companies with the largest data ecosystems? As cognition officially becomes infrastructure, what exactly happens to human autonomy? These are the defining questions of our new era. Thank you so much for exploring them with me. Keep questioning, keep adapting, and I'll catch you next time.